In the world of Hollywood, fame often looks perfect from the outside. People see glamorous photos, red carpets, and beautiful couples, and they assume that everything behind the scenes is just as magical. But the truth is often very different. This story, inspired by the idea of an aging Hollywood star reflecting on his past, explores what really happens when fame, ego, and personal habits enter private relationships. It focuses on how different personalities can clash, even when both people are talented and attractive. The main idea is not about judging individuals, but about understanding how human connection works. Real relationships need emotional balance, respect, and understanding. Without these things, even the most famous and admired people can feel lonely. The article looks at 6 different personalities, each representing a different challenge in relationships. Through these examples, we see that beauty, success, and fame do not guarantee happiness. In fact, they can sometimes create barriers between people. The goal of this story is to show that real connection is simple, honest, and human, not something that can be controlled, performed, or perfected. The first type of personality discussed is someone who is extremely strong, confident, and controlling. On the surface, this kind of person is powerful and impressive. They know what they want, and they are not afraid to take charge. However, in a relationship, too much control can become a problem. When one person always leads and dominates every situation, the other person may start to feel unimportant. A healthy relationship requires balance, where both individuals feel heard and valued. If one partner constantly gives instructions, corrects behavior, or demands attention, it can create emotional distance. The connection starts to feel like a performance instead of something natural. Over time, this kind of dynamic becomes exhausting. Instead of enjoying each other's company, both people become stuck in roles, one as the leader and the other as the follower. True intimacy cannot grow in such an environment because it needs equality and mutual respect. This example teaches us that strength is good, but it must be balanced with kindness and understanding. Without that balance, even the most exciting personality can feel overwhelming rather than attractive. Another personality type shown in this story is someone who is obsessed with perfection. Everything around them must look flawless, organized, and controlled. While this may seem like a positive trait, it can create serious problems in personal relationships. When someone focuses too much on how things look instead of how they feel, emotional connection gets lost. Instead of enjoying the moment, they may worry about small details like appearance, surroundings, or image. This turns natural interaction into something stiff and unnatural. The other person may begin to feel like they are part of a scene rather than a real relationship. Over time, this creates frustration and distance. Love and connection are not perfect, they are messy, emotional, and sometimes unpredictable. Trying to control every detail removes the authenticity that makes relationships meaningful. This example shows that while discipline and attention to detail are valuable in work and public life, they can become harmful in private life. Real connection requires letting go of control and accepting imperfections. Only then can two people truly understand and appreciate each other. The third personality reflects someone who is deeply afraid of imperfection. This person wants to maintain a flawless image at all times. They may avoid anything that feels messy, uncomfortable, or unpredictable. While this can create a polished appearance, it also builds emotional walls. In relationships, vulnerability is very important. People need to feel safe being themselves, even with their flaws. When one partner is always trying to appear perfect, it becomes difficult to build trust. The other person may feel rejected or judged, even if that is not the intention. Over time, this creates emotional distance. Instead of feeling close, both people feel separated by invisible barriers. The relationship becomes cold and distant, lacking warmth and spontaneity. This example reminds us that being human means being imperfect. Trying to hide that truth can prevent real connection. True closeness comes from accepting each other fully, including weaknesses and imperfections. Without that acceptance, relationships may look beautiful on the outside but feel empty on the inside. Another important theme in the story is communication. One personality type shown here is someone who talks constantly and struggles with silence. While communication is essential in relationships, too much talking without listening can create problems. When one person dominates conversations, the other may feel ignored or disconnected. Silence is also important because it allows people to feel calm, reflect, and connect on a deeper level. If every moment is filled with noise, there is no space for emotional understanding. This can make the relationship feel stressful rather than relaxing. The constant flow of words may also prevent meaningful connection because there is no time to truly listen or feel. Good communication is not just about speaking, it is also about listening and understanding. This example highlights the importance of balance in communication. Both partners should feel comfortable expressing themselves, but they should also respect quiet moments. Silence is not empty, it can be a powerful way to connect. Without balance, communication becomes overwhelming instead of supportive. Humor is often seen as a positive trait, and it can bring joy to relationships. However, this story shows that humor can also create problems if it is not used at the right time. One personality described here uses humor constantly, even in serious or emotional moments. This can make the other person feel misunderstood or disconnected. In relationships, emotional timing is very important. Sometimes people need seriousness, empathy, or calmness instead of jokes. If one partner always turns things into humor, it can prevent deeper connection. The relationship may start to feel confusing, as emotional signals become mixed. One person may seek closeness while the other responds with laughter, creating a mismatch. This does not mean humor is bad, it simply needs to be balanced with emotional awareness. Knowing when to be serious and when to be lighthearted is key. This example teaches that understanding your partner's emotional needs is essential. Without that understanding, even positive traits like humor can become obstacles instead of strengths. One of the strongest themes in this story is self-obsession. This personality type is focused mainly on themselves, their image, their feelings, and their appearance. While confidence is important, too much self-focus can prevent real connection. In a relationship, both people need to give attention and care to each other. If one person is always focused on themselves, the other may feel invisible. This creates loneliness even when both people are together. Emotional connection requires awareness of the other person's needs, feelings, and presence. Without that awareness, the relationship becomes one-sided. Over time, this can lead to frustration and sadness. This example highlights the difference between confidence and self-obsession. Confidence allows people to connect, while self-obsession isolates them. True relationships are built on mutual understanding and shared experience. When one person is too focused on themselves, that balance is lost. The result is a relationship that looks strong on the surface but lacks true emotional depth. In the end, this story is not about criticizing individuals, but about understanding what makes relationships work. Each personality type represents a different challenge: control, perfection, fear, imbalance, mismatch, and self-focus. These challenges are not limited to celebrities, they exist in everyday life as well. The main lesson is simple: real connection is based on balance, honesty, and emotional presence. It is not about being perfect or impressive. It is about being real and understanding each other. Fame and success cannot replace these qualities. In fact, they can sometimes make them harder to achieve. The story also reminds us that true happiness often comes from simple, genuine relationships where both people feel valued and understood. In the end, the most meaningful connections are not the most glamorous ones, but the ones built on trust, respect, and authenticity. These are the relationships that last and bring real happiness, no matter how famous or successful someone may be. In the end, this story is not about criticizing individuals, but about understanding what makes relationships work. Each personality type represents a different challenge: control, perfection, fear, imbalance, mismatch, and self-focus. These challenges are not limited to celebrities, they exist in everyday life as well. The main lesson is simple: real connection is based on balance, honesty, and emotional presence. It is not about being perfect or impressive. It is about being real and understanding each other. Fame and success cannot replace these qualities. In fact, they can sometimes make them harder to achieve. The story also reminds us that true happiness often comes from simple, genuine relationships where both people feel valued and understood. In the end, the most meaningful connections are not the most glamorous ones, but the ones built on trust, respect, and authenticity. These are the relationships that last and bring real happiness, no matter how famous or successful someone may be. Emotional timing is one of the most important but often ignored parts of a relationship. Many people believe that love is only about attraction, chemistry, or shared interests, but real connection depends on understanding when and how to respond to your partner's emotions. If one person is feeling serious, thoughtful, or vulnerable, and the other responds in a completely different way, it creates a gap. That gap slowly grows into distance. For example, if someone is trying to express deep feelings and their partner laughs or changes the topic, it can feel like rejection. It does not always mean the partner is being rude or careless, sometimes they simply do not realize the emotional need of the moment. This is where awareness becomes important. Being emotionally aware means paying attention not just to words, but to tone, body language, and energy. It means asking yourself, what does my partner need right now? Sometimes they need comfort, sometimes silence, and sometimes encouragement. Relationships become stronger when both people learn to adjust their responses. It is not about changing your personality, but about being flexible and understanding. When emotional timing is right, even small moments can feel meaningful. But when it is wrong, even big efforts can fail. This idea reminds us that love is not just about what we say or do, but also about when we say or do it. Ego plays a powerful role in shaping how people behave in relationships. Everyone has a sense of self, which is natural and necessary. However, when ego becomes too strong, it can create conflict and misunderstanding. A person with a strong